Alan Arlt, welcome to Sports Management Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Marcus. Excited to be here.
It's great to have you on the show. For those who doesn't know, you are the founder of Ultimate Hoops and also the co-founder of ARLT Consulting. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing on a daily basis?
Exactly. So I think I'll start in the present right now. So you mentioned that, yeah, I started ARLT Consulting about 3 years ago, and it's a sports centric consulting agency, really leveraging the experience I had starting Ultimate Hoops and being 20 years in the sports industry. We partner with a lot of different sport businesses at a lot of different stages of their company. We try to focus in three lanes with our clients: strategy, development, and growth. And we can really engage at whatever level that they're in any one of those lanes. We're about helping sport businesses create experiences that people remember forever. So strategy, digital products. The goal for us is to help them create products that customers want to engage with first thing in the morning and the last thing at night. So it's been something that I love. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. So any time that I can take a business from start and go from zero to $1 million, that's really the lane I love to operate in.
That's fantastic. And of course, now in consulting, you are using all the experience you have built up over the years. So let's back up a little bit. I know you started in media and advertising. So can you tell me how you got started in the sports industry, and then we take it from there?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an accident how I ended up in the sports industry. So I guess I'll start from the beginning. So I was born and raised in Minnesota. I was a sports kid my whole life. Played sports, every single sport I could do. I'd play till my mom and dad would call me in at night. Um, but I also was a sports nerd where I love stats. I love box scores. I loved reading the box scores in the newspaper each day. And I didn't know where that was going to lead me to until later in my life. Graduated from college here at the University of Minnesota, and then I immediately moved to New York City right after graduation. And as you mentioned, I worked in the advertising and marketing television industry for 10 years in New York, 2 years at Turner Broadcasting, and another 6.5, 7 years at Discovery Networks, leading their sponsorship and advertising division there for 6 years. And during that time, I've mentioned this before, I played in a lot of bad recreational basketball leagues. And I thought there should be a basketball league that whether you played like Kobe Bryant or played like Alan Arlt, you were going to get treated like Kobe Bryant. And I didn't see anything in the marketplace where, from a recreational basketball standpoint, that you could get stats and photos and everything that you saw on ESPN. So I saw an opportunity in the market, launched Ultimate Hoops in 2006, and it grew very fast. We went from 6 teams to 40 teams in less than a year. And Lifetime Fitness, which is a large health and fitness organization here in the States, saw what we are doing, acquired us within 18 months. And then I spent really the next 10, 15 years after that just building out Ultimate Hoops within Lifetime. And then around 2017 is when I had the idea for ARLT Consulting. The big the big moment was we had just opened our Ultimate Hoops court at the Lifetime Sky Club in New York City in 2017. Uh, Big grand opening. Carmelo Anthony was there, standing on the Ultimate Hoops logo in New York City. And I remember I went upstairs and I called my wife, Mary, and I said, I think I'm done. I think I've done everything I can with Ultimate Hoops, from the idea of having it in New York City, starting it to now have the logo and an NBA player standing there. Like, I don't know how I could take this any further, right? So that's when I had the idea for Alt Consulting, because like I said, I love doing startup businesses, and that's really how I guess accidentally ended up in the sports industry, just out of passion and just loving data and stats and experiences.
Great story. I love that. Yeah, said you decided to sell at that point, right? When you felt like you were done, and you achieved an 18 times return, I think, in just under 2 years. What is the key to being so successful and be able to sell with such profit?
Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive, Marcus, but I never had an exit plan for Ultimate Hoops when I started it. I didn't really have a business plan. I really just built a product for myself that I would love, right? And I was pretty convinced that if people would love the product and engage on it, that we would have an audience. So I think what I talk to people a lot is don't focus much on the exit strategy, focus on the product, what makes you different. Because there's so much competition in the marketplace right now, that's getting accelerated by a lot of things like AI, where at the end it's all going to come down to brand and your product and how you're going to stand out. And I think that's what helped us is it was such a passion project from the beginning. It was a business that I loved working on at 3 a.m. or 3 p.m. in the morning. And I think that resonated with Lifetime. They saw how engaged our community was. They saw that they weren't just coming to Lifetime to play in a 60-minute game and then coming back, the next week. Like they were engaged in the platform every single day, highlights, platform or power rankings, and that all laddered up to membership retention rates for Lifetime because these players kept coming back every single season. So I think it's just making a really sticky product and innovating on it and making it special. I think that's really what businesses now are looking for.
Yeah, and the passion aspect very important, as you said. And is that you say? Would you say is the biggest, most important factor when you're scaling the company? Because as we said, like you were scaling very fast in a short time before selling. But what, except for passion, so to speak, is important in order to scale?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I do think passion is an overused word. I think it has to be a combination of both. I think it has to be passionate, but it has to be practical, right? You do have to have, a financial foundation in place. You have to have a monetization strategy. You have to look at your unit economics, margins, like all that's important, right? So I think that is something you have to look at in the beginning is take that passion and then take a step back and try to create an actual business model around that and look at that and make sure that it's going to work and that it can potentially scale. Once you have that set out and you've done some product market fit, then that's where the passion can really come in. That's when you can really go fast. And the passion, which what I mentioned before, is, the litmus test for me is would I still want to work on this business 7 days a week and get up at 3 in the morning and still want to work on it and still be happy? And for me, it was yes. Like in my 15 years of Ultimate Hoops, not one day ever felt like work. Like there was hard days, but it never felt like work. So in that respect, I do think passion is important, but you can't get so blinded by passion that you don't take any business diligence in what you're building.
Yeah. So how do you balance that, not to let the emotions take over, so to speak? So you have this passion, the drive, but also in order to make sound business decisions.
Yeah, it's I always start with my gut, right? So even with clients, like does the passion, does the gut, am I getting stirred by this idea? If I do, then I know I can apply value to whatever client that we're working on because I'm connected to it. So once I'm connected to it and have passion around it, then I usually take a step back for a week and I start doing the business planning behind it, right? Like what's the market fit? How big is the addressable market? All that diligence that goes into it. Then I come back with the clients, or our team will come back with the clients and be like, love the idea. And here's how we'd actually attack it from a business standpoint and business model standpoint. So it's really a two-step process. If it checks both of those boxes, then we really lean in and we either scale or we potentially tell our clients is like, we're just not right fit for you. And we probably refer them to someone else is right. So I think it all starts with the idea, the gut, and then doing the diligence on top of that before you start really moving fast.
Yeah. So if we talk about Ultimate Hoops, growing that, athlete partnerships is a big thing. And you said that in the end, when you had the NBA players associated with your logo, you felt like that was, then you had accomplished what you wanted to. But how do you go from, building a brand that has no recognition, obviously, because it's completely new, to scaling up until that type of recognition? And how important is the athlete partnership in that?
Yeah, I think, well, the athlete partnership is everything. We at our company, we talk in terms of we're not a B2C company, we're not a B2B company, we're a B2A company, a business to athlete company. So everything that we do always ladders down to the end athlete. And that athlete can be a 10-year-old soccer player, or it can be all the way up to an NBA player on the top end of the market as well. So for us, what we've always been successful as and what Ultimate Hoops was successful is how do we make the average Joe or Jane feel like a professional, right? I think that's where, when we talk about professional relationships, we always start with that athlete and treating them like a professional and giving those tools that a professional athlete would have. And by doing that, it created that flywheel of engagement that I talked about before, where people were talking about it, they were sharing it with their friends. And then from a NBA or a professional league standpoint, they looked at Ultimate Hoops and said, wow, they have people that are engaged in playing basketball 7 days a week. Their aspiration is the NBA. What a great way for us to reach the recreational market as well and actually grow the NBA experience beyond just our NBA games at night. Now we can tie with recreational leagues and keep that consumer engaged 7 days a week as well. So it was a real natural parallel, obviously, to work with the NBA, to work with endemic sport brands like Gatorade and Wilson and some of the other companies as well. So, but again, it always starts with that product and making sure that it ladders up to the professional athlete experience as well.
Mm. And that product, obviously, it's a technological one when talking about stats, data, and all of this. And you mentioned before AI. So how have you seen these change in, how much have AI changed this industry? And I know you're not maybe day to day in the Ultimate Hoops anymore, but, where do you see this going with the AI in the technology industry?
Yeah, Marcus, it's changed everything and it's changing so fast. One of my clients is Sports Physio, and they're an AI technology company based in Boston. And what they allow is for stats and highlights to be created through computer vision AI technology. And from a practical terms, what that does is we are now able to do stats and highlights for every single player at scale, which we could not do before, even 3, 4 years ago, without having to hire a human statistician or to have a videographer creating videos for that recreational league, whether it be basketball or soccer. So what AI has done is it's really evened the playing field. Now any league across the country or across the world can have a professional experience, as I've talked about, by partnering with some of these AI companies as well. And for businesses, large scale businesses, it allows them to expand and scale their operations at a much greater pace because they don't have to leverage the human staffing and training and all that. They can prop up a camera and suddenly they have that experience across the board. And then you get into LLMs and articles and biometrics and all that stuff is coming so fast. So it's been an absolute blast to take some of that new technology and apply it to clients and actually grow their businesses, or for a startup that's been trying to do something like Ultimate Hoops and now have that technology for that to bring it to life for them.
Mm. So are you using AI in your consulting business when you're helping businesses today?
Uh, More on the administrative side. We do build out digital experience that have AI technology built into it, like Sports Visio is one of our partners as well. So we do leverage AI technology, either building it in their own native applications or we'll build a platform for them as well. So, but as far as the day-to-day, I use probably what everybody else uses, ChatGPT, Grok, more just to make me efficient from a business standpoint. But we do definitely leverage the AI technology in the sports space with our clients.
Yeah. Um, Back to Ultimate Hoops. I mean, we talked about recreational sports before we hit record here with myself playing hockey, and it can be several different sports. Do you think
Yeah,
that, I mean, the Ultimate Hoops idea, could that be implemented for several sports?
100%. 100%. Because it's not about the sport. It's about the experience and the emotion that you create through that experience. And that translates across the board. So a 35-year-old recreational basketball player who loves stats and highlights, that's going to translate to a soccer player or a recreational hockey player, right? Everybody wants to feel special. Everybody wants to see their stats. Everybody wants to have a highlight that they can share on Instagram and X. So that market has been proven. And what we're finding now, and working with a lot of clients in the youth space as well, the 10-year-old, 11-year-old who are on social, who are used to sharing videos, whether it be on TikTok, or they want that content too, right? So it's a multi-generational experience that That professional experience, what Ultimate Hoops delivers, is for every sport, and we're finding it's for every age and every gender as well. And it's just a very simple golden rule. People want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to feel special.
Yeah. No, and again, I can just draw from my own perspective. Like we had a camera in the ice rink where we were playing, and going back and watching. If you think that sometimes it looks worse than you had it in your thought in your head, but
Yes.
it's always like you, as you said, like you want to go back, watch those highlights, and see things again, as you can do on TV, go and replay, and all of this.
Yeah, yeah. And I've told this story before on other podcasts with other people too, is when I was starting Ultimate Hoops, there was that seminal moment of the first time that we were going to attempt to do a post-game interview with a recreational basketball player. And we had the mics and the cameras, we had the mic flags on it. And I remember I told Mary, who's now my wife, I said, this is going to decide if Ultimate Hoops is going to be big or not. We're going to do a post-game interview, and one or two things is going to happen. We're going to hold up the microphone in front of the player, and he's going to be like, get that microphone out of my face. What are you doing? I'm a recreational basketball player. Like, this is ridiculous. This is a joke. Or the other thing that could happen is he's going to talk like every NBA player that he's seen on camera and start using those same terms and same vernacular and mannerisms. And the second thing happened. And I knew at that moment is that was the magic sauce of Ultimate Hoops, is people not just creating that experience, but people buying into that experience, right? And saying, yes, I want to manifest talking like Kobe Bryant right now on camera. And that once that moment happened, I knew Ultimate Hoops is going to be a big success because people, the consumer was buying into the experience.
Yeah. No, I think that maybe people underestimate the power of recreational sports because if obviously you're watching the elite sports, but that's a percent of everyone is doing that sport. You have the other 99%. And how do you reach them? And they have needs, they have wants. They also want to have, as you said, the technologies and these other yeah, things that the professionals get.
Right. Exactly. And that's why I mentioned what's so exciting about AI is, again, when Ultimate Hoop started, it was way back in 2006. And if I wanted to do the same things that AI was allowing me to do today, it would have been way too expensive. It would have had to hire way too many people. So it's exciting. Just like AI allows you to start any business from scratch, you can do the same thing in the recreational space now with AI across the board. So instead of one Ultimate Hoops, there could be 1,000 Ultimate Hoops launching across the country in 5 minutes. I mean, that's where the technology is going.
Yeah. And I mean, you said you started 2006. I mean, I think Facebook what was created 2004 or something like that. I mean,
It was, yeah.
this was
Twitter
early.
was just launching. Facebook was just launching. Yes, yes. We had like a community board. Like none of that was even around at that time. So, which I think in retrospect, it may have helped us with our fast growth because the only channel that they could go to for Ultimate Hoops content was our website and our photos. So I think it did
Yeah.
help us in the beginning. But it's certainly once they launched, it just accelerated our growth, especially as we started expanding to, 30 plus markets within lifetime having that. But yeah, back then it was a wild, wild west.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like you were ahead of your time then, right? Because if you were talking about Ultimate Hoops now, it seems obvious. Like, of course, you have all of the highlights. You want this, you want shorts for your social medias. I mean, that didn't exist in the same way in 2006.
No, it didn't. And I remember when I told people that I was going to leave Discovery and start this recreational basketball league that was going to have full stats and highlights. They looked at me like I was nuts. Like, what are you doing? Go back to New York. Like, go work at Discovery. And I said, no, I think it's going to work. I think there's going to be an audience there. So, yeah. And now today, if I had that idea, yeah, you're right. Like, people are like, well, of course you do that, right? So, but yeah, it was a much different world back then.
Yeah. When I talk to entrepreneurs, I like to talk about that mindset shift when you are at a job at a company which is recognized, it's a big company, it's a secure job, kind of. You're at Discovery. What is like, what's going on in your mind there when you're making that mindset shift to just jump out there, start your own with no guarantees?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it is a risk, right? But I say this to people all the time. Ultimate Hoops would not have been successful if I didn't have that 10-year baseline corporate experience in marketing and sales. Like I learned so much working for Discovery and Turner Broadcasting. It was around so many smart people that it wasn't a I felt like I was ready to do Ultimate Hoops because I felt like I had enough marketing experience that I could take that out. So in a way, it felt like a risk, but I also felt pretty confident in it because I had a lot of the tools that I thought would be successful. So, that's part of the advice I give to young entrepreneurs as well is like, don't undervalue having 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 years of real experience within a company that might not even be a sports company, but you're learning that business discipline, marketing discipline that you could take and make something big. So don't be in such a rush to go out and start something big with a lot of risk. And don't feel like you're falling behind with if you're working for a company as well. You're getting great knowledge both ways. So yeah, that was the thing for me is I felt like I had a lot of confidence because I had all that knowledge from working in New York for 10 years.
I think like today it's trendy, let's call it that, to have a side gig, a side hustle, and then
Side
you're
hustle.
staying
Yep.
at your 9 to 5. So then you're minimizing that risk, right? You have your 9 to 5, so you have the income and you're a little bit secure. And then from 5 to 9, or if you go up early in the morning, 5 to 9 and 5 to 9,
Yes.
you're doing the hustle.
Yes. And I think everybody should do that, right? I think as long as you're excelling in your work, you're not falling behind, like I think that's the only way that you can really learn at scale these days now is dabbing into AI or starting a little side hustle that you're learning more knowledge that way because it is so easy to find knowledge. It is so easy to start a business or a side hustle that's not distracting. It's not like it was 20 years ago where you had to go get a business loan and take a lot of risk and it would take a lot of time. Like use a side hustle as a way to learn and not a distraction. And don't put measures of success that are so ridiculous that you think your side hustle is failing either. So I think it's a great way to learn. And I encourage people to, have multiple side hustles. I think it's just a great way to keep growing. And a lot of companies are seeing benefits in side hustles as well from their employees because they're bringing in new information into the company as well. So I think there's benefits on both sides.
100%. So now through your consultancy, you're helping a lot of sports entrepreneurs to scale their business and other entrepreneurs as well. What are the most common mistakes you see that founders make?
I think it's what I talked about before, Marcus, is just not having that business foundation or taking the time to set up a 30, 60, 90-day plan, a 6 to 12 month outlook, understanding who their marketplace is, understanding their product, getting a product out either too early or sometimes it's too late as well. We've worked with clients where they've been working on a product for 18 months and it hasn't even been tested yet. And we like to tell people get it to 80% there and let the 20% be determined by the marketplace and your customers as well. So, I think it's a balance of some people are going too fast and some people are going too slow. But we have a very regimented, I won't say it's regimented, but we have a 20 checklist that we do with businesses and our clients as well. And we make sure that at least 15 to 20 of those are checked off before we go to market as well. So yeah, I think it's just being diligent and being very focused and going as fast as you can that as long as what you're bringing to market is worthy.
Hmm. I guess the same question, but in reverse. But what would be your best advice for someone who wants to start their own business?
I think just get started. I think don't wait, don't feel like you have to have everything figured out before you start. Put together a business plan, share it with friends, share it with others, vet out your idea a bit, but just get started. And by get started doesn't mean just launching it out in the marketplace, but get started on doing research, get started on doing the business plan, understanding the market, going into Photoshop and designing it, writing out your use cases, your user personas, who you're marketing after, like doing all that work, like just get started on that. Um, because a lot of people, I think they get analysis paralysis where they just don't know how to start. And we certainly help clients with that as well. Like we'll give them like 5 things or a little starter kit just to start, just to kind of align their thinking the right way too. But I think to them, for anyone, it's just like get out a notebook and just start writing. I mean, I started my Ultimate Hoops writing on the back of a bar napkin. Like I literally wrote down 5 or 6 things in a bar of like what I wanted to do. Just start writing and put it to paper and then share it with people and start slowly bringing it to market.
Yeah, I love that because I think some people like maybe you call it perfectionism, but maybe, it's just that you're not getting started, as you said, because you want to have something perfect before you launch, but then probably you're never going to launch. So better, as you
Yeah.
said, just get started, get going, and then optimize it as you go.
Yes. And leverage the AI tools that are out there today. And what I tell people is Grok, ChatGPT, Claude, they're all great tools. But don't go into there and say, how do I start? How do I start an Ultimate Hoops recreational basketball league? Like that's too soon to use it. What I tell people is don't go near AI, go to your notebook and just start writing down what you think, what's in your gut, what you think is true, what you want to write for that business. Write it out as much as you can, and then take that prompt and then put it into AI and have them respond and kind of flesh it out a bit. Don't start the other way. Like it has to feel human, right? Because consumers are getting so smart these days because they're seeing so much AI that soon be able to sniff out any AI product in the marketplace until AI can get to a spot where they can't. But right now we're still kind of in those early inning stages. So, you know, start with you, make sure it still feels human, and then share it with AI to get more experience and more feedback.
Yeah, I like that. So I like to talk about leadership as well on this podcast, and you have led teams across different sectors, media, sports, consulting, and more. So I guess a two-part question. How would you describe your leadership style? And also, does it differ depending on the industry that you're working in?
Ah, it's a great question. Yeah, I think my leadership style, and maybe it's because I'm an entrepreneur and a founder, is I love getting into the weeds on every part of the business. And I'm also um, not unwilling to do every single task in the company in the job. Like with Ultimate Hoops, like I remember the days where I would sweep the floors before all the games. And I still have that mentality today. Like if we're setting up with a client, like I want to be in there helping things get set up. I want to learn things too. So I think for me, when I look at who's a good candidate, either for working for ARLT Consulting, for Ultimate Hoops, is one, do they love the product? Why do they love the product? Right? Two is what do they want to do in their career, and how could working for Ultimate Hoops or Lifetime or ARLT Consulting help them on their path as well, right? Because that's really important that we understand what their long-term goals are. And then just making sure that the work ethic is aligned to the passion, right? Like I mentioned before, you need people, especially in smaller companies, that are willing to wear multiple hats, wear multiple tasks, and be really supportive and take a lot of agency in their work as well. So I think those are the type of people that I look for, and those type of people that have been successful that I've seen in my companies as well. But I just try to be compassionate. I try to treat people fairly. I love to know people's like families and what motivates them and where they came from. I find that stuff all super interesting. And just treating people like humans, right? I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it talks a little bit to the more modern leadership style and less this hierarchical that might have been a couple of decades ago. There was really, pointing with the full hand and my way or no way and this type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what I've also learned too is in my early days, leadership days, I'd find a great person and I try to customize a position for this person because I just like this candidate so much. And I realized that over time that didn't necessarily work in all the cases. So what I try to do now is always create a job position and work with clients that is going to drive the business forward, and then having that job description fit to a certain person. So I think that's one of the lessons I've learned is, however great the candidate is, make sure that it ladders up to the business drivers that you actually need that person to work on. And also, it just provides more clarity for that person joining the organization as well. If they have clear responsibilities and roles, that just makes their experience that much better.
For sure. And I mean, recruitment is a very important part, right? So building the successful team, and sometimes what do you say, a bad apple poisons the barrel or something along those lines. So,
Yes. Yes.
so how have you worked with recruitment in order to build a successful team? Because obviously, like your companies wouldn't have been as successful if the team wasn't top notch.
Yeah, no, yeah, great question. I don't hire in a vacuum. So if I have a good feeling about someone, I always have them go through, I won't call it multiple interviews, because usually when they reach my level, like they've been pretty well vetted, but I want to make sure that everyone on my core team has been able to spend time with this person as well, whether it be on a Zoom or having lunch as well. So when this person is joining the organization, they already have a little bit of relationship with the core people that they're going to be working with every day. We've all been in new jobs where it sucks where you're the new person and you don't really know anybody and it's awkward on the first day. Like I try to eliminate that as much as possible. And it also, again, it provides better texture for the people joining the organization. Like, okay, they get a better feel for it, make sure that they really want to join the organization as well. I've been lucky to be in an industry like sports at a pretty fun company like Ultimate Hoops and a great company owned by Lifetime, where we've had a lot of interest in joining Ultimate Hoops. So it's been more of an exercise of making sure that it is the right fit for them to understanding like Ultimate Hoops is we don't just play basketball all day long either at Ultimate Hoops. Like there's things, we're a real company, and making sure that they're not just joining for, again, the passion part and they love sports, but they really want to learn from a business standpoint before they join the company.
Yeah, I like that. So looking back now, over 20 years in the industry, has there been any bumps on the road in your career? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Yes, I mentioned before, not one day has ever felt like work, but there's certainly been um, some ups and downs along the way with any company, right? I think, I've mentioned this before. We failed when we really started expanding within Lifetime. We were going way too fast. And we went from one league here, so we started in Minneapolis, and we went to 10 expansion cities in 1 quarter. And I would go tour those different markets, and I'd walk into a gym, and there'd be an Ultimate Hoops game going on. I'm like, this is not Ultimate Hoops at all. Like people were not in jerseys, it wasn't run the right way. So we scaled too fast. So we really reeled it in. We made really disciplined SOPs and started our expansion business and worked well. So that was one way that was really difficult. Then the obvious one was COVID during 2020, where literally every single basketball league, every single Lifetime shut down for a very long time. So we didn't know when we're going to actually come back, and it actually delayed me starting my sports consulting agency because I was getting ready to get that started, and then COVID hit, and I said, well, I'm not going to let Ultimate Hoops die because of COVID. So we literally all of our leagues shut down. And it was months where we were just trying to get people in the gym to allow to shoot baskets. And finally, by 2022, 2023, we'd actually had exceeded our 2019 revenue goals and brought it back. But I think those two things, I always think on the opposite ends, were always probably the most challenging thing that we went through.
Yeah, and I mean, the COVID was a special case, right? And especially for participation sports. It was different in every country, and the regulations changed every day, it felt like. But in US and where you were, was it a complete shutdown or lockdown, or how was it where you were?
Yeah, it was a complete shutdown because when you think about, a health and fitness company, the close contact of people sweating, like they were not going to let a health and fitness company open at all. Once Lifetime started opening, they still had this 6 feet of social distancing that you had to do, right? Well, there's no 6 feet of social distancing playing basketball. Like you're literally like leaning on people, like there's no social distancing. So we were literally one of the last things within Lifetime to open up with the regulations piece. So again, it was a very long time. Again, during COVID, our ultimate hoops experience was having one person on a court shooting free throws and all by themselves. Like that's what it was reduced to during COVID, and we slowly got back. But what we found is there was so many players were missing the product that once we were able to play again, our leagues filled up immediately because there's all this pent up demand of like, I just want to play basketball. I haven't been able to play basketball for 2 years. So I think that really accelerated our growth. But yeah, I mean, it was a very tough 2 years, definitely.
For sure. And I mean, it sounds like, one step back, two steps forward when it came back and people realized they had missed it. But also, you had to keep the company afloat for 2, 3 years with revenues being cut by the ankles. So
Yeah,
how did you manage that?
I had to let 85% of my team go. And that was definitely the most difficult part of my last 20 years is having to let the team go, having to let a lot of my leadership team go. We furloughed a lot of people as well, and we just got down to the bare bones because, like I said, we weren't bringing in any revenue for 2 years, so we had to cut down to the bone. So that was very difficult, and we just, slowly brought the team back. What was exciting is, when I had to let some of my team go, I said, I'm not letting you go. I'm putting you on the bench for a while because go find something that you can do for 2 years. As soon as we're back, I'm going to hire you back again and get you back on the team. And luckily, we're able to do that as well. So it was good. I tried to stay positive. Again, I knew it was going to be temporary. I hope it was going to be temporary, but it was still painful to have to let people go during that time.
I understand that. And but I like it says a lot when you say that like take 2 years, do something else, and then I will hire you back just to, doing what you can and being there for your team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ultimate Hoops, I mean, I'm not as involved in it today. It's still running today because of the great people that are doing the work there. And they're like family. Like they made Ultimate Hoops what it is today. They took my vision and they executed it everywhere. And so yeah, it's a special team, special time, and I still love them today.
That's great to hear.
Mhm.
I like to end on a networking question. So, who from your network do you think would be a good guest on this show?
Oh, wow. That is a fantastic question. Man, I think well, there's two people. There's two clients. One, I think Jason Syverson from Sports Visio, the CEO of Sports Visio, AI technology. We talked about that before. I think Jason's story is super inspiring, and he's done a lot as well. And then I think John Gallegos is another client, AIM Sports Group in Huntington Beach, who's built probably the largest boys volleyball event operator in California. He's also built a lot of agency businesses, United Collective, like just a really um, successful business person. I think John would be a great guest as well. So those are the two that come top of mind because I've been spending the most time with those two in the last few months. So they come top of mind. But I'm sure after this podcast, I'm going to think of, oh, I should mention them and them. So I can send you a whole list, Marcus.
Appreciate that. And Jason has actually been a guest on the show a while back, and
Oh, he has.
was
Okay,
was
great.
a was a fantastic episode. And coming from very, small economic opportunities growing up, and making what he has been able to do in the industry is it's a really great story for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Jason's a great guy. Super, super smart business person.
Mm. Perfect. Alan, I really appreciate taking the time. Thank you so much for jumping on Sports Management Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Marcus. This has been a lot of fun. Appreciate it.
Thank you.